I watched the family group chat explode with excitement as my cousin Jessica shared her wonderful news. The messages kept pouring in. Jessica, Marcus never uses that gorgeous lake house anyway. It's perfect for my dream wedding. Mom, what a wonderful idea. The lakefront view will be beautiful for pictures. Dad, about time that property got some real use. Aunt Patricia, we can use the dock for the ceremony. I'm thinking white flowers everywhere. Uncle Robert, I'll bring the boats. We can make it a whole weekend celebration. My sister Emma, already looking at catering options. This is going to be amazing. Jessica, at Marcus, hope you don't mind. But since you're never there, we figured it would be perfect. We're planning for 200 guests in June. I set my phone down on my desk, turning to look out the floor-to-ceiling windows of my office on the 47th floor. Below me, the city sprawled out in its morning glory. But my mind was 80 miles north at Crystal Lake Resort. My pride and joy, though my family had no idea. They thought I just owned the little lake house. A property our grandfather left me in his will 5 years ago. What they didn't know was that I'd spent those 5 years building the largest luxury resort destination in the Northeast. The little lake house was now just one small part of a sprawling 500-acre property that included a 5-star hotel, 3 restaurants, a world-class spa, and the most exclusive wedding venue in the region. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a message from Thomas, my resort manager. Mr. Harrison, the Thompson wedding just confirmed their $300,000 package for June 15th. Full property buyout, 250 guests. Should I proceed with the contracts? June 15th, the exact date Jessica was planning her wedding. I smiled, remembering the conversation from last Christmas when she'd mocked my boring job in hospitality management. You should have stayed in finance like your brother, she'd said, sipping her champagne. Michael's making real money. You're just managing some hotels or whatever. What Jessica and the rest of my family didn't know was that some hotels or whatever had grown into Harrison Hospitality Group, a billion-dollar company that owned 30 luxury properties across the country. Crystal Lake Resort was our flagship location, though I'd kept my ownership quiet, operating through holding companies and letting others be the public face. I picked up my phone to respond to Thomas. Proceed with the Thompson contracts. And please block all dates in June for potential family events. I'll explain later. Looking back at the family chat, the messages were still flowing. Jessica, I'm thinking we'll use the main house for the bridal party to get ready. The groomsmen can use the boathouse. Aunt Patricia, we should do the rehearsal dinner on the lawn. String lights everywhere. Uncle Robert, I'll bring the ski boats for the bachelor party weekend. My brother Michael, count me in. At Marcus, you'll finally have some life at that place. I thought about responding but instead opened my email to send a message to my legal team. Need comprehensive property use documents and ownership structure for Crystal Lake Resort. Family situation developing. Meeting tomorrow 9 a.m. My assistant Sarah knocked on my door. Mr. Harrison, the investors are ready for you in the conference room. I nodded, straightening my tie as I stood. Coming, and Sarah, please clear my schedule for next weekend. I need to visit Crystal Lake Resort. Of course, though you should know, it's completely booked through summer. The Thompson wedding in June is our biggest event yet. I'm aware, I smiled. Family matters to attend to. The rest of my day was filled with meetings, property reviews and investment discussions. By evening, the family chat had over 200 messages, with everyone except me enthusiastically planning Jessica's wedding at my lake house. Finally at 9 p.m., I responded. Thanks for letting me know about your plans. We should discuss this in person. Family dinner at my place this Sunday. The responses were immediate. Jessica. Perfect. We can show you all our ideas. Mom. Wonderful. It'll be so nice to see your apartment, honey. Michael. Maybe we can help you decorate that sad bachelor pad finally. What they didn't know was that my sad bachelor pad was actually the entire top floor of one of the city's most exclusive building. A building owned by Harrison Properties, another of my companies. Sunday arrived quickly. I'd arranged for dinner to be catered by the head chef from Crystal Lake Resort, a subtle touch I knew would come in handy later. As my family arrived, I watched their faces as they took in my home for the first time. This is your apartment. Mom stood in the foyer, staring at the sweeping views and museum-quality art. The whole floor. Dad walked to the windows, looking confused. Must be some mistake. Michael laughed nervously. No way you could afford this on a hotel manager's salary. Jessica barely noticed, too busy showing her mother wedding pictures on her phone. So I'm thinking we'll set up the ceremony right by the water, with chairs on the lawn. I let them all get settled in the living room, drinks in hand before I spoke. Before we discuss any wedding plans, there's something you should know about the lake house. Oh, don't worry, Jessica beamed. We'll take care of everything. You won't have to lift a finger. We've already started sending out save the dates. I raised an eyebrow. Save the dates? For my property? Without asking me? Well, you never use it anyway. Uncle Robert waved his hand dismissively. It's about time someone put that place to good use. I walked to my office and returned with a thick folder. Actually, the property gets plenty of use. Let me show you exactly what's been happening at Crystal Lake. I opened the folder and began laying out aerial shots of the resort, marketing materials, press coverage, and financial statements. That's not your lake house. Michael scoffed. That's Crystal Lake Resort. Everyone knows about it. Most exclusive venue in the region. Impossible to book unless you're. His voice trailed off as he saw my signature on the ownership documents. Unless you're me. I finished his sentence. Or rather, unless you're the owner of Harrison Hospitality Group. The room went silent. I continued laying out documents. Proof of ownership, property valuations, press coverage of our success. The little lake house grandfather left me. I invested everything I had into developing the property. While you all thought I was failing, I built this. Crystal Lake Resort is now valued at $300 million. It's booked solid for the next 2 years, with an average wedding package costing $250,000. Jessica's face had gone pale. But we already told everyone. I sent out save the dates. To a venue you don't own. For a date that's already booked by paying clients? Yes, that's going to be awkward. I kept my voice calm. The Thompson family has already paid a deposit for their daughter's wedding on June 15th. All 500 acres of the property will be closed to the public that weekend for their exclusive use. But it's your family. Aunt Patricia sputtered. Surely you can't choose strangers over your own cousin's wedding. I looked at her steadily. The same family that mocked my career choices, that laughed at my little lake house, that planned an entire wedding on my property without even asking me. Mom set down her drink. Marcus, we had no idea. Clearly, I said. You also had no idea about this building, or the other properties I own, or the fact that Harrison Hospitality Group is now one of the largest luxury resort companies in the country. Michael stood up, his face red. This is ridiculous. You've been hiding all this while we thought you were struggling, living some kind of double life. No, I corrected him. I've been working, building something. I tried to tell you all many times, but you were too busy mocking my career choices to listen. I walked to the windows, looking out at the city I'd helped shape through my investments. I own 30 properties like Crystal Lake, hotels, resorts, residential buildings like this one. While you were all laughing at my boring job in hospitality management, I was building an empire. Jessica started crying. But my wedding. I turned back to face them. I'm not heartless. I have a proposal. If you'd like to have your wedding at Crystal Lake Resort, you can, but you'll need to book it properly, like any other client. We have some dates available next year. You'll get family pricing, of course, but it will be a proper business arrangement with contracts, deposits, and respect for property rights. Next year, Jessica wailed. But everyone's already planning for June. Then I suggest you start looking for another venue. I said firmly. And next time, ask before making plans with someone else's property. The room erupted in chaos. Jessica crying. Aunt Patricia arguing. Michael pacing angrily. I let them vent for a few minutes before raising my hand for silence. There's something else you should know, I said quietly. Remember that investment opportunity you all passed on 5 years ago? When I asked if anyone wanted to invest in developing grandfather's property, they all nodded slowly. A $100,000 investment then would be worth $15 million today. I offered you all a chance to be part of this. You laughed and said I was dreaming too big, called it a fool's errand, said I should get a real job like Michael. I walked to my desk and pulled out another folder. I'm about to take Harrison Hospitality Group public. The IPO is expected to value the company at $4 billion. I'm still willing to offer you all a chance to invest, but this time, the buy-in is significantly higher. The silence in the room was deafening. Finally, Dad spoke. Son, we had no idea. No, you didn't, I agreed. Because you never asked. You were all too busy telling me what I was doing wrong to see what I was building. I began gathering the documents, putting them back in their folders. The caterers tonight, they're from Crystal Lake Resort. The wine you're drinking, from our vineyard. That wedding venue you were all so excited about, I designed it myself. Looking at their shocked faces, I continued. I'm not angry. I'm not even hurt anymore. But this ends now. The assumptions, the condescension, the planning my life without consulting me. From now on, we do things properly. Jessica wiped her eyes. So, you'll help me find another date for the wedding. I smiled slightly. Have your planner call my office. We'll see what we can do. But Jessica, next time you want something, try asking first. The rest of the evening was awkward, to say the least. As they left, I heard them whispering among themselves, trying to process everything they'd learned. My phone buzzed one final time. A message from Thomas at the resort. Mr. Harrison, the Thompsons' wedding planner wants to discuss some changes to their June ceremony. Should I tell them about the family situation? I replied quickly. No need. The Thompson wedding proceeds as planned. Family matters have been addressed. Looking out over the city lights, I smiled. 5 years of building in silence, of letting them think what they wanted, had led to this moment. Tomorrow, I'd wake up and continue running my company. But tonight, I'd finally shown my family exactly who I'd become while they weren't paying attention. My phone buzzed again, this time with a message from Jessica. I'm sorry, can we talk tomorrow about booking the resort properly? And maybe about me coming to work for you. Turns out I know nothing about the hospitality industry, but I'd love to learn. Progress, I thought. Sometimes it takes a shock to open people's eyes. I replied. Lunch tomorrow. My office. We'll talk. Setting down my phone, I poured myself a glass of wine, from my vineyard of course, and smiled. Phase 1 of dealing with my family was complete. Now came the interesting part, teaching them how to be part of my world, rather than trying to control it. The city lights twinkled below, and somewhere north, Crystal Lake Resort was hosting another perfect event. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but for tonight, I'd accomplished what I'd set out to do, shown my family that the little lake house had become something far bigger than they'd ever imagined. And Jessica's wedding, well, that would be a story for another day. 1 week after the revelations at my penthouse, I sat in my office reviewing the morning's financial reports when Sarah buzzed in. Mr. Harrison, your cousin Jessica is here for her meeting. Right on time. A good start. Send her in. Jessica entered, looking different from her usual self. Gone was the designer sundress and casual attitude. Instead, she wore a crisp business suit and carried a professional portfolio. Thanks for meeting with me, Marcus. She took a seat across from my desk, smoothing her skirt nervously. I've spent the week doing research on Harrison Hospitality Group. I had no idea. The scope of what you've built is incredible. I leaned back in my chair. What exactly are you hoping to accomplish here, Jessica? 2 things, she said, opening her portfolio. First, I want to properly book my wedding at Crystal Lake Resort. I have a business proposal and several date options for next year. She slid across a professionally prepared document. Second, I want to learn the business, really learn it, from the ground up. I picked up her proposal, scanning the contents. She'd done her homework, reasonable dates, detailed budgets, clear understanding of the resort's pricing structure. This is surprisingly thorough, I admitted. I spent 3 days studying your resort's wedding packages, comparing them with competitors, and understanding your business model. She straightened in her chair. I was arrogant and entitled about the lake house. I see that now. but I'm also seeing an opportunity to learn from someone who's built something remarkable. I set down the proposal. You do realize that if you want to work here, you'll start at the bottom. No special treatment. I expect to. She nodded. Actually, I already applied formally through your HR department for an entry-level position at Crystal Lake Resort. I figured that's the best place to learn the basics. My phone buzzed a message from Thomas at the resort. Your cousin's application came through. Strong interview. Willing to start as a guest services coordinator. Should I proceed? I looked at Jessica. Why the sudden interest in hospitality? Because I was wrong, she said simply. We all were. We saw what you were doing as beneath us, but you were building an empire while we were judging you. I want to understand how you did it. Really understand, not just get a cushy job because we're family. I stood and walked to the windows, considering her words. Behind me, Jessica continued. I know I messed up with the wedding plans, but watching you that night, seeing how you've managed to create all this, it made me realize how small my thinking has been. I don't just want a fancy wedding at your resort anymore. I want to learn how to build something of my own. Turning back to face her, I studied my cousin. The entitled attitude was gone, replaced by something I recognized: hunger, determination. The same look I'd had when I started. The job pays $35,000 a year, I said. You'll work weekends, holidays, deal with difficult guests. No special treatment, no shortcuts. I understand. She didn't flinch. I've already given notice at my current job. I pressed the intercom. Sarah, please set up a video call with Thomas at Crystal Lake Resort. Minutes later, Thomas's face appeared on my office screen. Mr. Harrison, good morning. Thomas, you've reviewed Jessica Harrison's application. Yes, sir. Solid interview. Willing to start from scratch. We have an opening in guest services starting next month. I nodded. Hire her. Standard package. Standard probation period. Treat her like any other employee. Understood, sir. Thomas made some notes. And regarding her wedding booking inquiry, I glanced at Jessica's proposal again. The April dates look workable. Have the events team reach out to review packages and requirements. Standard family discount applies, but everything else by the book. After the call ended, Jessica let out a breath she'd been holding. Thank you. I won't let you down. Don't thank me yet, I warned. The real work starts now. Go home and read these. I handed her a stack of hospitality management books. You start training in 4 weeks. As Jessica left, Sarah brought in my next set of meetings. But my mind was on Crystal Lake Resort, remembering my own start there 5 years ago. Maybe there was hope for my family after all. The next few weeks brought more surprises. Michael, my brother, requested a meeting. I've been looking at Harrison Hospitality Group's financials, he said, sitting in my office. Your IPO filing is impressive. Would you consider bringing me on as financial advisor? I raised an eyebrow. You ridiculed this business for years. I was wrong, he admitted. Your financial structures are brilliant. The way you've leveraged properties, managed growth. I'd like to learn from you. As my brother or as a professional? Both, he said honestly. But I know I need to earn it. I studied him for a moment. Submit a proper proposal. If it's good, we'll talk. The family dynamics were shifting. Mom and Dad toured Crystal Lake Resort properly for the first time, finally seeing what I'd built from grandfather's old property. It's extraordinary, Mom whispered, standing on the main terrace overlooking the lake. All those years we thought we should have seen. You weren't looking, I said simply. None of you were. Jessica's first month at the resort was eye-opening for everyone. She worked the front desk, handled guest complaints, learned the reservation systems. No special treatment, just like I'd promised. It's harder than I ever imagined, she admitted during one of our weekly check-ins. But I'm learning so much. The attention to detail, the way everything has to flow perfectly. It's like conducting an orchestra. I watched her progress through Thomas's reports. She was actually doing well, showing up early, staying late, absorbing everything she could about the business. The wedding plans progressed too, but differently now. Jessica approached it with new eyes, understanding the complexity of what she was asking for. I want to earn this, she said during a planning meeting. Not just as your cousin, but as someone who understands the value of what you've built. Aunt Patricia and Uncle Robert came around more slowly, but even they began to see things differently. We judged too quickly, Aunt Patricia said during a family dinner. Assumed we knew better. The success you've built, it's remarkable. Uncle Robert was more direct. We were damn fools. Should have invested when you offered. I took a sip of wine. From my vineyard naturally. There are always new opportunities, but they require respect, understanding and proper business approach. The IPO preparations continued in the background. Harrison Hospitality Group was about to become very public, and with it my success would be impossible to ignore. Michael's proposal for financial advisory services arrived. Comprehensive, professional, and actually quite good. I had Sarah set up a proper interview. The family was learning, adapting, seeing me and themselves in a new light. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. One evening, as I watched the sunset from my office, Thomas called from the resort. Jessica stayed late again tonight, he reported. Helped handle a crisis with a wedding party. Kept everything smooth. She's got potential. I smiled slightly. Keep me posted. And Thomas? Thank you for treating her like any other employee. Of course, sir. Though I must say, she's not what I expected from what you told me about your family. People can surprise you, I said, watching the city lights come alive below. Sometimes they just need a wake-up call. Sarah brought in the latest IPO documents for review. The numbers were strong, the future bright, but more importantly, my family was finally seeing the truth. Success comes from hard work, respect and doing things the right way. Jessica's wedding would happen next April, planned properly this time. She'd earn it both as a client and as an employee who understood the business. The little lake house had taught them all a valuable lesson. Sometimes the biggest dreams come true quietly, while everyone else is too busy judging to notice. I picked up my phone to message Jessica. Thomas says you handled the crisis well today. Keep learning, keep growing. That's how empires are built. Her response came quickly. Thanks, Marcus, for everything. I'm finally beginning to understand. Understanding, that's what this was all about. Not just of the business, but of respect, boundaries, and the right way to build something lasting. The city sparkled below, as night fell, and somewhere north, Crystal Lake Resort was hosting another perfect event. The future held new challenges, but for now the lessons were being learned, and that was worth more than any lake house could ever be. The morning of Harrison Hospitality Group's IPO, I stood in the executive suite of our flagship hotel in the city, adjusting my tie as financial news channels buzzed in the background. The analysts were already talking. Harrison Hospitality Group, the luxury resort empire built by Marcus Harrison, is expected to be the year's biggest hospitality IPO. Starting price projected at $85 per share, market valuation expected to reach $4.8 billion. My phone lit up with a message from Jessica, watching the coverage from Crystal Lake Resort. The whole team is gathered in the main hall. You've got quite the fan club here. In 6 months she'd worked her way up from the front desk to junior events coordinator, earning every step through genuine hard work. No shortcuts, no special treatment, just determination and growing skill. Another message popped up, this time from Michael. Final numbers look strong. Press is already calling this the hospitality event of the year. Ready when you are. My brother had proven himself too. His financial advisory proposal had been solid, and he'd spent months helping prepare for this day. As a professional, not just a brother. Sarah knocked on the door. Mr. Harrison, the car's ready. Your family is assembled in the hotel's private dining room, as requested. I nodded, taking one last look in the mirror. Let's do this. The private dining room was transformed from the last time my family had gathered here. Gone were the awkward tensions and entitled attitudes. Instead, I found them professionally dressed, engaged, and actually understanding what today meant. Mom stood up first. Marcus, we wanted to have breakfast together before everything starts, as a family. But properly this time, Dad added, gesturing to the spread. We had the hotel's executive chef prepare everything to your standards. I smiled slightly. They were learning. Aunt Patricia handed me a folder. We also wanted to show you something. The family has pooled resources to participate in the IPO Michael properly, through official channels. We're not asking for special treatment, just the opportunity to invest in what you've built. The right way this time. I opened the folder, reviewing their investment proposal. It was thorough, professional, and showed they'd done their research. This is impressive, I admitted. Jessica taught us a lot, Uncle Robert said. She's been explaining how the business works, how proper protocols matter. We've been listening this time. Over breakfast, we discussed the day ahead. The family had questions about the IPO process, the business strategy, future expansion plans, real questions, not the dismissive comments of the past. Marcus, Jessica spoke up. I have a presentation for you about potential expansion opportunities for Crystal Lake Resort. Would you be willing to review it when things settle down? Send it to my office. I nodded. We'll discuss it during your quarterly review. The pride in her eyes at being treated like a real professional meant more than any forced family connection. At 8:30, Sarah appeared. Mr. Harrison, it's time. The trading floor was packed with reporters, investors, and industry leaders. As I prepared to ring the opening bell, I looked at my family, no longer entitled relatives expecting handouts, but people who had learned to respect what it takes to build something meaningful. The bell rang. Harrison Hospitality Group went public. The screens lit up with trading activity. By noon the stock had jumped 47%. My phone buzzed constantly with congratulations and media requests. But the message that caught my eye was from Thomas at Crystal Lake Resort. Jessica just handled a crisis with the Chen wedding. Solved it completely on her own. Saved the event. You were right about giving her a real chance. I smiled, remembering the entitled cousin who had tried to commandeer my lake house. The transformation wasn't just in the business, it was in the people too. The afternoon brought a series of interviews and meetings. Michael handled the financial press brilliantly, speaking as a knowledgeable advisor rather than just my brother. Mom and Dad sat quietly proud in the background, finally understanding the empire their son had built. By evening, Harrison Hospitality Group's market cap had exceeded $5 billion. We gathered in my office for a private celebration. I've been thinking, I addressed my family, about growth and opportunity, not handouts, but earned positions. They listened intently as I continued. Jessica has proven herself at Crystal Lake Resort. Michael has shown real value in financial advisory. There might be opportunities for others too, but only through proper channels, only through real work. That's all we ask, Dad said quietly. A chance to be part of what you've built, the right way this time. I pulled out a folder. I'm launching a new division. Boutique urban hotels, starting with 10 properties. There will be positions available, but they'll be earned, not given. The excitement in the room was different now. Not entitled anticipation, but professional interest. Send your proposals through HR, I continued, like any other candidate. No guarantees, no special treatment. Jessica spoke up. I'd like to stay at Crystal Lake Resort, if possible. I'm learning so much there, and I think I could really grow into a larger role, eventually. That would be Thomas's decision, I replied, as your direct supervisor. She nodded, understanding and appreciating the professional boundaries. As the evening wound down, I stood at my window, watching my hotels light up the city skyline. Sarah brought in the final trading numbers and tomorrow's schedule. Your sister Emma called, she mentioned. She'd like to submit a proposal for handling public relations for the new boutique division. Tell her to send it through proper channels, I replied. Like everyone else, the little lake house that started everything had grown into something none of them had imagined. But more importantly, it had taught my family the value of doing things the right way. My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Jessica. The Chen wedding went perfectly. I finally understand what you meant about every detail mattering. Thank you for making me earn this. I looked out at my growing empire, thinking about the changes 6 months had brought. The entitled family that had tried to take over my lake house had transformed into people willing to work, learn, and earn their place. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, and new lessons. But for now, watching my hotels shine against the night sky, I knew the greatest success wasn't just in the buildings or the IPO. It was in teaching my family the right way to build something lasting. 1 year after the IPO, I stood on the deck of Crystal Lake Resort, watching final preparations for Jessica's wedding. But this wasn't the entitled event she'd originally planned. This was something she'd earned. As the resort's now senior events coordinator, she'd worked with her team professionally, paid full price with her employee discount, and planned everything by the book. The transformation was remarkable. All details are confirmed. Mr. Harrison, Thomas approached with a tablet. Jessica insisted on running this like any other premium event. She even declined the family override when I offered it. I nodded, proud but not surprised. How's she doing with the new training program? Outstanding. Her proposal to expand our corporate retreat division has already brought in 3 major contracts. The sound of helicopters drew our attention skyward. The first of our VIP guests were arriving, CEOs and industry leaders who now regularly frequented our properties. Harrison Hospitality Group had doubled in size since going public, and Crystal Lake Resort had become the crown jewel of our portfolio. Michael appeared, looking professional in his role as chief financial advisor. Latest acquisition numbers are in. The boutique hotel division is exceeding projections by 23%. And Emma's PR campaign, going viral. She earned that position, Marcus. They all did. It was true. Over the past year, various family members had joined the company, but properly through merit and hard work. Emma had revolutionized our public relations after submitting an innovative proposal through proper channels. Dad had proven himself valuable in property development, and Mom's eye for design had enhanced our boutique hotels. Marcus, Jessica approached, wearing her events coordinator uniform rather than a bridal gown. Everything's on schedule for this evening. I'll change for the ceremony after final inspections. You don't have to work your own wedding, I reminded her. She smiled. I know, but I want to ensure everything's perfect. Professionally perfect, not just family perfect. As sunset approached, I watched my family gather, not as entitled relatives, but as respected professionals who'd earned their places. Uncle Robert had become our transportation logistics director, Aunt Patricia now headed guest relations training, and even distant cousins had found legitimate roles through proper applications and proven merit. The ceremony was flawless, of course. Jessica had trained her team too well for anything else. As she finally changed into her bridal gown, I overheard her giving last-minute instructions to her assistant. Remember, same standards as any premium event. No special treatment just because it's me. During the reception, I clinked my glass for attention. A year ago this venue was almost the site of a very different event, one born of entitlement and assumptions. Today we're celebrating, not just a wedding, but a transformation. I looked at my family, my professional hardworking family. Harrison Hospitality Group isn't just about properties and profits, it's about doing things the right way, earning success, and building something lasting. Jessica raised her glass to the lake house that started it all, and to learning the true meaning of hospitality. Later that evening, as the celebration continued, I walked down to the original lake house, now a premium executive retreat space. The entitled family that had once tried to commandeer it had become something I never expected. Real partners in building something greater. My phone buzzed with a message from our Tokyo office. The Asian expansion was proceeding ahead of schedule. Another from Dubai. Our desert resort concept had received final approval. Harrison Hospitality Group had become truly global, but its heart remained here, where it all began. Sarah appeared with contracts for our newest venture, space tourism hotels, partnering with major aerospace companies. Your sister Emma already has the PR strategy ready, properly submitted through channels. I smiled, signing the documents. The future was bright, built on merit rather than entitlement. The little lake house had taught its lesson well. Looking out over the lake, I raised my glass to the empire we'd built the right way, together.